Let's get right to the point. Did George Washington really grow weed? You've probably heard the rumor, Washington, the founding father, lighting up at Mount Vernon. Sounds wild, right? But before we imagine the Declaration of Independence drafted in a smoky haze, let's check the facts. Yes, Washington grew cannabis, but not the kind that gets you high. His diaries are full of notes about cultivating hemp, not marijuana. Hemp was a vital crop for rope, sails, and textiles, not recreation. Washington was a forward-thinking farmer, always experimenting to make his plantation more profitable. So, let's dig into what was really happening at Mount Vernon. Because the truth is even more interesting than the myth. Alright, let's dive into a common question and clear up some confusion. What exactly is the difference between hemp and marijuana? It's a question that pops up frequently, especially as cannabis becomes more widely discussed and accepted. While they're both members of the cannabis family and share a common ancestry, they are definitely not the same thing. Think of them as cousins, sharing some family traits but ultimately possessing very different characteristics and uses. A good analogy is to think of them like lemons and oranges, both citrus fruits, both related, but you certainly wouldn't swap one for the other when you're making lemonade or orange juice. They each have their own unique properties and purposes. The most significant difference, and the one that usually comes to mind first, is THC. THC is the shorthand for tetrahydrocannabinol, the chemical compound within the cannabis plant that's responsible for the psychoactive effects, or what most people refer to as the high. Marijuana plants are specifically bred and cultivated to produce high levels of THC, often reaching concentrations of 15% or even higher. Hemp, on the other hand, contains almost none. In fact, by law, hemp must contain less than 0.3% THC to be considered hemp. To put it in perspective, you could smoke a whole field of George Washington's hemp and feel absolutely nothing in terms of psychoactive effects, but you might feel a sense of historical regret for wasting all that valuable fiber. So, if it doesn't get you high, why grow it at all? The answer lies in its versatility. Hemp was historically prized for its incredibly strong fibers and nutritious seeds, not for its flowers or any potential psychoactive properties. It was truly a wonder crop, fast-growing, incredibly tough, and remarkably useful for a wide range of applications, from creating durable ropes and textiles to producing nutritious oil and food products. If you take a look at Washington's farm records, you'll see that his focus was on industrial output. He was interested in the plant's potential for producing valuable resources, not in any recreational use. His detailed notes about the importance of separating male and female plants were all about maximizing fiber quality and yield, not about increasing potency or anything related to psychoactive effects. Understanding this fundamental distinction between hemp and marijuana is absolutely key to truly understanding the real story of hemp and its historical significance and its potential for the future. In the 1700s, a seemingly ordinary plant held extraordinary power. Hemp was a strategic resource, a cornerstone of colonial economies and international trade. Its versatility made it indispensable. Especially for a maritime power like Britain and its colonies, control over hemp supplies meant naval dominance and thriving trade routes. It was the lifeblood of their seafaring ambitions. Ships needed hemp for sails, vast expanses of canvas that harnessed the wind and propelled vessels across oceans. Without strong sails, voyages were impossible. And rope, miles of it, essential for rigging, anchors, and countless other tasks on board. The strength and durability of hemp rope were unmatched. Without it, trade and navies stalled, crippling economies and leaving nations vulnerable. Hemp ensured the smooth operation of maritime activities. The British Crown even encouraged colonists to grow hemp, recognizing its vital importance to the empire's prosperity and security. They actively promoted its cultivation. Sometimes you could pay taxes with it, a testament to its recognized value and widespread acceptance as a form of currency. It was as good as gold in some cases. It was as essential as timber or grain, a fundamental commodity that sustained both daily life and large-scale industries. Its applications were seemingly endless, and farmers across the colonies grew it for profit and patriotism, contributing to both their own livelihoods and the strength of the nation. It was a win-win situation. Hemp's uses went far beyond ships, permeating nearly every aspect of colonial life. It made homespun cloth, sacks wagon covers, lamp oil and animal feed. Every part of the plant was used, a testament to its incredible versatility and resourcefulness. Zero waste. For Washington, growing hemp was a smart business move, a calculated decision to diversify his agricultural holdings, not a rebellious act. He wanted to diversify away from tobacco and saw hemp as a promising alternative. At the time, hemp was as normal as wheat or corn, an everyday crop that played a vital role in the colonial economy. The real story is about economic survival, not secret stashes. It was about building a nation, one hemp field at a time. George Washington, a figure synonymous with the birth of the United States, was also a meticulous farmer, deeply invested in the agricultural practices of his time. He was always looking for better crops and methods to improve the yield and efficiency of his plantation, constantly experimenting with new techniques. Frustrated with the fluctuating market and soil depletion associated with tobacco, he turned to hemp in the 1760s, recognizing its potential as a versatile and profitable crop. He began dedicating real acreage to it, carefully planning its cultivation within the broader agricultural landscape of Mount Vernon. He documented everything meticulously, from soil prep and seed selection, to the labor-intensive and often messy process of retting hemp in the waters of the Potomac River, a crucial step in fiber extraction. The ultimate goal? To make rope and cloth directly on the plantation, reducing reliance on external suppliers. This was primarily for his plantation's needs, especially providing durable clothing and materials for the enslaved workers who formed the backbone of his agricultural operations. Producing his own textiles from hemp would significantly cut down on expensive imports from Europe and boosted the plantation's self-sufficiency, making it less vulnerable to disruptions in trade. But processing hemp was a notoriously tough and labor-intensive undertaking, and despite his best efforts, profits were often slim and hard-won. After a few years of experimentation and cultivation, Washington ultimately shifted his primary focus to wheat, a crop that proved more consistently profitable. But his hemp experiment, though not a long-term success, clearly demonstrated his inherent drive for innovation and agricultural experimentation. His fields weren't about getting high or recreational use, they were about meeting real practical needs for his plantation and its inhabitants. Washington's foray into hemp cultivation was, in essence, a symbol of early American resourcefulness and a desire for economic independence. The popular myth of a pot-smoking president, while amusing, ultimately misses the real ingenuity and pragmatic spirit that was at work in his agricultural pursuits. So why the confusion? Hemp and marijuana look almost identical in the field. For centuries no one mixed them up. Hemp was for industry, marijuana for medicine or recreation. The confusion started in the 20th century, when anti-drug campaigns lumped all cannabis together. Laws like the Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 killed the hemp industry by treating it like a drug. Suddenly, a patriotic crop became suspect. Modern eyes look back and see cannabis, and assume it's all the same. But in Washington's time, growing hemp was as ordinary as growing flax. The idea of smoking it for a high would have seemed bizarre. The myth is a modern invention, not a historical fact. The real confusion is ours, not Washington's. To understand Washington the hemp farmer, you need to see colonial agriculture for what it was, the backbone of America. Farming was innovation, business, and survival, all rolled into one. Washington ran Mount Vernon like a modern enterprise, experimenting with crops, tools, and techniques. Hemp fit perfectly into his push for economic independence from Britain. Making rope and cloth from American hemp was a statement of self-reliance. When Washington planted hemp, he was helping lay the groundwork for American independence. The founders knew that political freedom depended on economic self-sufficiency. A nation that could feed, clothe, and supply itself was a nation that could stand alone. Washington's hemp fields didn't fuel a high, they fueled a revolution. His farming was an act of patriotism, not rebellion. So, did George Washington grow cannabis? Yes, but not to smoke. He grew industrial hemp, not marijuana. The myth comes from confusing two very different plants. Washington's hemp was for rope, cloth, and profit, not for getting high. In his day, growing hemp was a patriotic, practical act. The real story is about a nation builder, not a secret stoner. Next time you hear the rumor, set the record straight. Washington was a hemp farmer, not a pot farmer. Even Thomas Jefferson grew hemp for industry, not recreation. The founding fathers were after a green revolution, just not the kind you might think.